it always creates auspicious conditions for our meditation practice when we recite sutras and prayers, clears away obstacles um, and just kind of uh, helps us as we read the teachings, to the extent that we're able, while we're reading, we can also kind of be thinking about the meaning of the teachings, not just reciting the words, like a chatbot, but actually kind of letting that meaning sink into our heart, um, which moves us closer to realization over time. I mean, it's a long journey to realize the meanings of these teachings in the deepest way, but the rain barrel is filled one drop at a time. Thus I have heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Mountain, together in one method with a great assembly of monastics and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. At that time also, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Then through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, how should a child of the lineage trained who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, son or daughter of the lineage, wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are merely empty, having no characteristics. They are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no eye element, and so forth, up to no mind element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, and no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear, passing utterly beyond perversity. They attain the final state beyond sorrow. Also, all the Buddhas who perfectly reside in the three times, relying upon the perfection of wisdom, become manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete awakening. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it is not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soham. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soham. Tayata gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soham. So pause for a moment and just briefly reflect on the lack of inherent existence of yourself in all phenomenon. Self does exist, but only based on dependent factors. Here, because of my mother and father, the food we ate, all the love and compassion that we received that kept us alive, nourished us so that we're relatively healthy. We also exist dependent upon parts. We're not some solid thing that exists independently, inherently, concretely, but both the body and mind all have parts and subparts. The body has four limbs, internal organs, energy channels, many other parts. And the mind has many parts, temporal parts from one moment to the next. The mind of this moment is different than the mind of the last moment. Different emotions and feelings and thoughts, factors of negative karma and samsara. So virtuous factors that lead to enlightenment. So all these different mental parts are part of the mind. At the most subtle level, body and mind both depend upon mental conceptual labeling. We conceive of an I or person based on the name that we were given at birth and all of our experiences, which form our life story, which most of us are very attached to, and we conceive of that in a very solid way, not recognizing that it's simply a story that we affirm. So just contemplating that teaching on dependent arising, whatever feeling or awareness you get of the lack of inherent existence, try and focus on that with single pointed concentration. Shariputra, a bodhisattva, a great being, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that he had spoken well. Good, good, O child of the lineage, it is like that. Since it is like that, just as you have revealed, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced in that way. And the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and that entire assembly of disciples, as well as the worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. So again, just take some time to do some meditation. Begin by checking your posture. What's important is to have a relaxed but alert posture with your back straight. We don't want to try and be like a Marine or cadet, super stiff and with the chin too far up in the air. It's a little bit relaxed. The shoulders, make sure they're relaxed and drop down around your shoulders, drop down from your neck. But also check that the shoulders aren't kind of pulled forward. Sometimes just try and adjust your shoulders and find that place where the energy really flows in the most smooth and relaxed way. Can take some practice. Your hands can be in your lap, your right hand in your left, your thumbs touching. Then we'll start with the 9 rounds of breathing, which help to clear away conceptual thoughts and balance the flow of energy in our right and left channels. So just take your left hand and hold it over your left nostril and breathe in through your right nostril. And then hold your right nostril closed and breathe out through your left nostril. Do that 3 times. In through the right, close the right and out through the left. Close the left and in through the right. And we reverse the order. We breathe in through the left and out through the right. Times. Last three, we breathe in through both nostrils 3 times and out through both 3 times. And once again, just remember, purpose of our practice is to become a Buddha in order to free others. But in order to do that, first we have to free our own mind from ignorance and attachment and anger, purify all the negative qualities, purify all of our karma. This is a long process that can take many lifetimes, so it's important to continually practice purification, develop a deep understanding of the nature of the mind, which is what travels from life to life, influences where we, what sort of opportunity we have to practice Dharma. Just let the mind settle to a clear and aware state. To arise. Don't be disturbed. Just notice that a thought arises, that clear, knowing state, nature of the mind. And then the thought disappears back into that same state of clarity and awareness. So just try not to get involved in whatever thought that arises, but notice that which holds the thought, that groundless awareness that is always there. you get lost in thought, just come back to the breath, working the breath to recenter and again settle into that clear nature of the moment. You can open your eyes whenever you're ready. Yes, we do the best we can with our um, conditions for practice, and whatever challenges and obstacles are present, we try as best we can to bring those into the path. And I used to meditate. I mean, I've lived in a lot of different places in Seattle, and this is the best place so far for meditating because it's quiet here. There's no um, dogs barking in the neighborhood. And for sound, I mean, you can work with sound eventually. Just kind of realize it's just I mean, of course, you could put on earmuffs or earplugs, or you could just train your mind to not focus on the sound, but to first start with your breath and make that, really focus on that. And if you're able to get single pointed, you won't hear anything else. Um, like there's stories about uh, people attain calm abiding. Somebody could come up to that person and shake them and shout in their ear, and they won't hear you because they'll be like completely absorbed in their meditation. I've never experienced that myself, but uh, I've certainly experienced times when sound didn't bother me in my meditation. There was sound present, but I was able to just kind of be with my meditation object. And I mean, that's why they call it a practice. um,
I never could achieve that, like focus during the meditation too, but outside of meditation, mind can be very sticky, or like if it's work or if it's something that is on your mind, like, yeah, like I realize that I'm not recognizing other things, but recognizing that one thing that I'm focused on. So I just need to train a lot more in the, meditative concentration, but I know that it is possible to some extent from my personal experience to achieve that, like to not recognize the sound because you're so focused on something, right? That gives me a little bit more hope. Uh, I just need to get there. Does that make sense?
totally, yeah. So we're talking about concentration, Lon. I don't know how much of that you heard, but doing the meditation practice and developing concentration over time, practicing has many benefits, um, both for like on a basic physiological level, the body um, relaxes better, our blood pressure goes down, probably um, our Um, blood sugar is probably better regulated, just the energy flows better in the body. And then certainly in work, or just the art of multitasking, is much more effective when you have good concentration. And um, sort of one of the it's nice to go on retreat and only do meditation and not have to multitask, but most of the time in our life we're multitasking. It's like, those of us with kids, we have to be thinking about them kind of a lot, um, and different responsibilities we have, you know, with friends and guests and business colleagues and plans that we're making and money, and all these different things, it's like it's a lot to deal with in modern life. But if we develop our concentration, you know, sort of like driving down the road, it's you have to be kind of observing this speedometer, being aware of your foot on the gas pedal, and constantly scanning the horizon for different um, other moving vehicles, assessing threat levels of other drivers, and so there's actually a lot going on. I mean, that's just kind of a metaphor for life, we're moving down the road of life. Um, since this is our last day we're meeting in December, so we're finishing up this section on the four foundations of mindfulness. Sometimes they're called the four um, close placements. And this is a really basic part of meditation practice is when we're doing meditation, um, I mean, there's mindfulness in the world and the business, community that, for achieving worldly goals, but mindfulness in a Dharma sense is always connected to our refuge in bodhicitta and and more immediately, it's about being able to um, be mindful of what we're meditating on. It's like we can sit and start meditating, but if we're not mindful of our meditation object, we'll just space out and either daydream or fall asleep. And that has limited value. I mean, it may help us just to relax a little bit. Um, but so there's really two mindfulness uh, has two parts to it. One is we need to remember the object, what we're meditating on, so whether it's the breath or whether it's the nature of the mind or whether it's a visualization of the deity, Shakyamuni Buddha or something of that nature. And uh, then we need another factor called introspective alertness, which is checking the mind, sort of like a little spy, a little sentry that's just observing how the meditation is going and whether the mind is still on the object. It's kind of an aspect of remembering, but it's slightly different. It's like it's observing the mind observing the mind, a part of mind observing the mind. Um, so, so these are what we've been focused on the last 4 months. And so the four aspects of mindfulness are body, feeling, mind, and phenomenon. And in the Pali tradition of, um, which is Theravada tradition of Buddhism, um, which doesn't explicitly include bodhicitta. I've studied with some Theravada teachers, and it's a little bit of a nuanced discussion about um, the difference between full enlightenment and becoming an arhat. Um, anyways, Theravada teachings, they're really wonderful. It's the foundation for the Mahayana teachings. But anyways, what I was going to say is, in the Theravada teachings, the four foundations of mindfulness are explained in great detail with many lists about, you know, focusing on the body. There's a whole series of teachings on the breath and different parts of the body, as that you can kind of dissect mentally with your awareness. And then also meditations, monks would go to charnel grounds where um, in the old days in Asia, they would just toss the bodies there and let them decay. And you could you could sit there and watch, observe bodies in various stages of decay, from the jackals kind of picking apart the raw meat to eventually the bones turning to dust, and contemplating, well, I too shall become like this, basically, eventually. Um, I suppose in the West we could imagine our body going into a crematorium or something. Um, and it's important to demystify uh, death. Um, and then feeling is pretty simple, at least in terms of explaining it. We become mindful of three kinds of feeling: positive feeling or pleasurable feeling, neutral feeling, and um, negative feelings, which are uncomfortable, unpleasant, um, and just being aware of those and kind of learning to observe them dispassionately without reacting to that. Oh, this is an unpleasant feeling. Like during the meditation, I was noticing that my feet were cold on the floor. I was kind of like, oh, I want to get up. And then I was like, oh no, just sit with it, just observe it. You know, this is and this is kind of our life. We're always being bombarded with feelings of pleasant and unpleasant, and a lot of neutral. A lot of the times we don't feel either pleasant or unpleasant. And it's a critical um, component of mindfulness to pay attention to, because in the 12 links of dependent origination, I think it's the seventh link is feeling. And if we can observe feeling without allowing craving to arise, that is one of the places in the 12 links where we can break the chain of dependent origination, which is what propels us from one birth to another within samsara, cyclic existence. So um, it's really a powerful practice to observe feeling and to um, not completely identify your whole being with the feeling, like I am. happy now. I'm feeling really good. I am feeling really suffering now. Yes, the feeling exists on a relative conventional level, but we can also observe it and realize that it's uh, it's temporary. It arises and passes. It doesn't have any solid existence, and also um, it's in the nature of suffering if we cling to it, if we hold on to it, if we identify our relative conventional self as that feeling. So as this chart here that Venerable Yonton put together, when you look at feeling, it says one of our errors is conceiving our feelings to be what the self enjoys and experiences. Um, so again, the self experiences these feelings, but it's not a solid self experiencing a solid, inherently existent feeling. So that's really the key to the practice here. And the same with mind. Um, so mindfulness of mind is in the strict Pali sense of the word, it um, it focuses on the hindrances of meditation. I'm just going to switch sharing and bring that up just so see that. So 16 states of mind or 8 categories can be subdivided into two sets. The first set contrasts unwholesome and wholesome states of mind, while the second set is concerned with the presence or absence of higher states of mind. So just knowing when the mind is feeling lustful or desire. So again, it's Buddhism often gets mischaracterized as being a really negative, almost nihilistic religion that proclaims that everything is suffering. It's okay to have pleasure and enjoy things in our life. The problem is when we uh, get attached and just we're always craving stuff, whether it be sense pleasure of any of the 6 senses, taste, touch, hearing, like our perfect music with no interruption, beautiful fragrances, aromas of flowers, but not anything unpleasant. We don't smell certain smells like when we burn our dinner or something. Um, and and we like to hear good words and um, see beautiful sights and have beautiful thoughts in our mind. All these different um, sense doors. We get caught in craving after uh, only certain kinds of sense experiences and rejecting all the others. And so the problem isn't, just to give an example, I mean, of course, we need to eat when we're hungry. It's like we want to have some food. But can we eat like the appropriate amount of food, the food that's going to make us healthy and sustain our meditation, basically sustain our life? I mean, that's basically the purpose of food from a monastic point of view, is just um, seeking food. Of course, we want it to taste well, to taste good, because the body will assimilate the food better if it tastes well. It'll pass, it tastes good for a reason. Our body knows, oh, this is good food. Um, so I don't know if I'm making that point clear, but I mean, so there's basically a difference between wanting something, desiring something in a healthy way, and desiring something in an unhealthy way, which um and it's all part of the practice of balance. So different states of mind to be aware of: lustful, angry, deluded, distracted. Um, so the point I was trying to make earlier about the difference between the Pali presentation of the four mindfulnesses and um, what Venerable Yontin's chart here, which is more of a kind of a Mahayana approach, is she's kind of really condensing that information in a really skillful way um, to focus on the concept of emptiness, the emptiness of the self. I mean, that's ultimately what we need to do to um, achieve liberation and enlightenment. Is we have to um, realize emptiness, and the first step to realizing emptiness is by meditating on the emptiness of the self rather than just the emptiness of a chair or flower. We start with ourself because that's the easiest way to realize emptiness. Um, and in the Pali teachings, there's so many different ways to think about some of these categories, like mind. There's so many different lists, but she's condensed it into this and error number 3 is conceiving our mind to be a real self. I am what thinks and perceives. Um, so, again, of course, we, conventionally speaking, we think and we perceive, and there is a conventional I that does that, performs those actions. But our mistake is conceiving this, not being able to distinguish thoughts and perceptions and different states of mind as um, parts of experience rather than who we are as an identity. So you can really spend a lot of time thinking about these teachings. It's helpful to read um, Venerable Analayo's book, which I have over there somewhere. But and Jack Kornfield wrote a really good book called The Heart of Buddhist Meditation that goes into mindfulness. Venerable Children recently gave a talk that's online about mindfulness. So these teachings can get really cerebral and thought heavy and can be challenging to integrate, but uh, you know I just explain it the best as I'm able to. You need to study and read and think about it and try and make it your own. because nobody else can hand you your own liberation. So gathering all this positive energy we've created together and kind of rejoicing inwardly that we've taken time out of our day when we could have done 50 other things other than focus on Dharma with spiritual friends. We dedicate this merit. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forever. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezi, may you stay until samsara ends. May the spiritual mentors who lead me on the sacred path and all spiritual friends who practice it have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances, grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Losang's teachings, dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds, always increase. Embodiment of the 3 divine refuges who bless us all, Gindan Tenzin, holder of the teachings, may your lifespan last for eternity. May your excellent deeds pervade all time and space and continuously ripen for nourishment of myself and all others. Fearless Supreme Spiritual Leader, omniscient King of the Shakyas, motherly Tara, supreme bestower of longevity and wisdom, vast ocean assembly of sources of refuge, grant propitiousness here and now for a nectar of benefit and bliss to flow. With a clear mind of extensive learning gained from following the wondrous traditions of Tupten, the Able One's teachings, you bring clarity to masses of disciples with the light of children, the lamp of the Dharma. May your lotus feet remain unfaltering for a very long time. Through your dharmic deeds of hearing, thinking, meditating, and so on, place those who seek the liberated path in harmony through immaculate discipline. Please lead all beings to liberation with undeclining excellent qualities of scripture and insight, and establish them in a glory of eternal bliss.